Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Cohen. One question I get asked a lot is when a student should start preparing for the SAT or ACT. What I always tell parents is that if possible, they should start the summer before junior year. So, why should they start so early? Well, let me preface all this by saying that the final date a student is able to take the SAT or ACT and still submit to colleges as an applicant will be generally in the fall of senior year, and that date is going to approach pretty quickly. In fact, if a student applies early decision, the latest they can take the SAT or ACT senior year is either November or October. For some schools, the latest ACT date senior year is September. So by starting to prep the summer before junior year, that ensures that a child will have at least 1 year of time to prep for the test and take the test, possibly more than once. I think that having at least a year is really the right amount of time because for really two main reasons. Students take usually a number of months to really adequately prepare for either the SAT or ACT. And additionally, they're probably going to take either test more than once. Um, and part of the reason is that students tend to score within a range. So, on a good day, they may get an 800 in math on the SAT. On a bad day, they may get a 700. So, by taking the test more than once, either 2 or 3 times, you're getting a broader range of scores. And because colleges are only going to pick the highest score, it becomes more likely that the student will obtain a higher score. And unlike some other tests that are available on the computer, the SAT and ACT are still paper tests. So that means they're only offered a couple times a year. So test dates are spaced out often by 1 month or 2 months, sometimes even a bit more. So you want to have, a range of test dates to pick from to make sure you can get 2 or 3 test dates that would be convenient for the student. Another great reason to start the summer before junior year is because summer is when students usually have the most time to study. Once the school year starts, students get really bogged down with homework, with extracurriculars. So setting aside that summer time to get going can allow them to get a lot more studying under their belt. The last thing you want to have happen is a student not be able to do enough prep and then to find themselves 2, 3 weeks before the test trying to cram everything in, right before the test, which usually doesn't work very well and can really cause major burnout. The last big reason to start early is that the college application process is very intensive, it's all consuming, and the student is going to be increasingly involved in this process, picking colleges, thinking about applications, scholarships, as junior year and senior year roll along. So the sooner you can knock out the SAT and ACT, the better, because then you have more time to think about and work on the applications. Also, knowing the SAT or ACT score earlier on in the college admissions process is helpful because it gives you a better idea of what range of schools the student would be competitive at. Okay, so at this point, you might be saying, great, start early. So why not start before the summer before junior year? Well, I think this is a bad idea because each year in school, students are learning skills that are going to be very applicable to the tests. Their vocab's improving, their critical reading, their reasoning skills, and they're learning more and more math, which is obviously going to show up on the test. So they need to have geometry and algebra 1 completed at a bare minimum before going into either test. And they're not likely to have completed both of those before that summer. Now, there are some students out there who, can take a practice test freshman or sophomore year and score fantastically. And if your child is one of those students, please, by all means, have them take the test now and get it out of the way. But for the vast majority of students, they're going to be at a real disadvantage if they try and take it as a sophomore or as a freshman, because they're simply going to be competing with people who have much more schooling under their belt. that's going to be really critical for either test. All right, so in sum, start the summer before junior year. Not everyone will be able to start that summer. You maybe have, a trip to Antarctica or something, and studying is not feasible, who knows? But try and start as closely as possible to that time.